sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, they work in your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports all plays.
And we're live here on FastBreak. I got some amazing people here with me. We're going to get into all things NBA, as the NBA has definitely kept us on the edge of our seats here recently. We've had a bunch of big scoring games. We got people returning. We got people not returning. Apparently, James Wiseman is being shut down for the year. We've seen some great practice videos that we're going to get into. Just a lot of stuff going on. But first, I got to make sure I check on my guys. Con man, how we doing?
I'm doing rather well, fellas. How y'all doing?
I'm great. Blessed to be here. Chris, my man, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing real good, right? Appreciate you asking, man. I'm just ready to talk some basketball.
Well, let's get ready to get into it. Before I do get into that, I do want to shout out the ASAP Network as we are continuing to bring on other podcasts. We are constantly growing. Our CEO and president sounds like he has something in the works. They are currently down in, I believe it's Mississippi,
Jackson, Mississippi,
doing some live coverage of some sporting events. So it's all the way up here at ASAP. And as you've all heard, yesterday's price is not today's price. So definitely continue to check in, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure y'all hitting that bell. So when we go live at the spare of the moment, because you never know when somebody might get traded or if somebody gets hurt and we want to talk about it, you will be made aware. But now that we've got that out the way, what is basketball about? Basketball is about scoring more than the other team. And this year we've had some great scoring performances, and we have some people that are vying for a scoring title. We got about 3 or so that are definitely in the hunt. So I want to start with you guys and kind of get your takes on who do you think is going to win the scoring title. And I'll start with you, Chris.
I think it's going to be LeBron. 19th year. He knows he's not going to be MVP. I think originally, he had that mindset he was going to try to be MVP this year. But the way the team's playing, there's no chance of that. He needs something to hang his hat on. We know he's chasing Kareem's Kareem's record, which he'll break. What is it? Early next year? Like halfway through next year, he should break it.
Yeah, so, it's 50 game mark.
Yeah. So
at the latest.
And then I think there's a good chance, Embiid will sit out for a little bit, so that's going to eliminate him. And I don't think Giannis is one who's going to rest, but he doesn't have to go as hard either. So I think it's going to be LeBron.
Okay. Con, man, what you got?
I'm kind of like going to roll with what Chris said. At first, I was going to think that, LeBron might take a break, get ready for that playing game because it looks like they're going to be going against New Orleans. And the way that the Lakers are playing right now, unfortunately, they're going to need every bit of scoring that LeBron can give them. Although AD should be coming back within a week or two, from what I'm hearing. But I'm going to roll with LeBron, as Chris stated. They're not going to win the title this year, and the fact is, I think that's something that he wants to obtain. I think maybe mid-season he made up his mind that's what he wanted to do. So I'm gonna roll with him. I think Joel Embiid's probably gonna chill because looks like they're gonna be have it pretty much easy in the East, the first round or two as well. But then again, you can't forget Giannis because he plays every game. He got that youth in him. So, but I'm gonna go with LeBron.
And I'm going to make it a clean sweep. I think it means most to LeBron. I think it means most to LeBron's team and teammates. And LeBron has the least amount of help, so he's likely to put up the most shots. I think I heard a stat that he's leading the league in shot attempts, which is very un-LeBron-like. But given, the way the season's gone, you can't really fault him. They looked pretty good the other night without him, but they still lost. As far as resting for the play-in, I don't think he really cares about the play, and he knows either way they're going out in the first round because they're going to run into. Well, actually, let me change that statement, because before it would have been a foregone conclusion that whoever faces Memphis and that play-in scenario would get beat. But we've heard that now they're shutting Ja down basically for the rest of the year. And I think it was on this show, I can't remember, why I said my concern for Ja is long-term, can he stay healthy? And we're seeing a lot more nicks and bruises and bumps and bruises with explosive players, him and Zion in the same draft, and they're both having lower leg problems for maybe different reasons, but it's just really hard to sustain that. We saw Allen Iverson break down, and that's a great comp that people want to compare him to, but Memphis obviously is 15-2 without Ja, so that doesn't necessarily mean that they are not going to win in the first round of the playoffs. But if you're the Lakers and you can win the 2 play-in games and jump to that 7 seed, I mean, I think you're having a different conversation.
Can I get the 7 seed? Because it's only 7 and 8 that can get 7, right?
I think you're right. How
The
far back?
The Lakers
did right now.
Be going to the 8 seed. Yeah.
Yeah, the best they can get is 8 seed.
They fell back below?
Yeah, they're at 10.
Okay. Then I stand corrected. In that case, they're not beating Phoenix. I don't think anybody can beat Phoenix, to be perfectly honest.
I'm sorry, Ray. What'd you say?
No, I said, you heard what I said. I don't think anybody. And to that point, I think Phoenix's biggest problem is now they're going to have to go through a bit of that acclimation process that we've seen most everyone else struggle with. Bringing back a starter has caused problems for most teams. I think they are best equipped. They're 5 games back of the Clippers. The Lakers are. So yeah, that's pretty uphill. But no, I think that's difficult to add someone back in. The Nets are going to have to deal with Ben Simmons. We've seen the Warriors struggle with Draymond and Clay all year. The Bulls have had people in and out of their lineup, and they can't beat a good team. So I think the problem is when you're trying to acclimate a key component, people got to figure out their roles. I think Phoenix is capable of doing it, but the same way I thought Jordan Poole would have a problem with Clay coming back, interested to see. And although they did win last night because Devin Booker went nuts, I feel like Campaign could feel away. Like he played really well in Chris's absence. So he's going to have to go back to that reserve role. And we've seen that cause problems for some, but I think that their locker room's strong enough and they got enough vets to overcome that. But yeah, I agree with y'all. LeBron's the answer. I think Giannis is not looking for it. He's not motivated by it. Him and Embiid are both pushing for an MVP. And so having that scoring title on your resume, I definitely think helps that conversation or argument. But I don't see it happening. And even if, say, a David Robinson situation happens where Embiid needed 60 to win the scoring title, I don't see Doc Rivers sending him out there in the last game of the season to try and get 60 just to win a scoring title. I could see LeBron going out and shooting 40 times to win a scoring title in a meaningless game. So no, I agree with y'all. I think the answer is LeBron, but that's also as long as everybody stays healthy. We've seen Steph go down recently and others, so fingers crossed on that.
Has there been any updates on Steph? I know it was possible for playoffs, or have you heard anything?
No real updates. I heard similar to you. Hopefully by the I think him and Josh seem to have a similar timeline, right? Around the playoffs, but nothing definitive. I don't believe we've seen any like exercising or any kind of rehab steps that say he's back close. And with his history, you probably slow play it, but the window.
He's been on a couple of shows. Most recently, saying the fact that he will be ready. So you got to go by his word.
I mean, you're gonna say that though.
Yeah. I think he'll be there.
As it stands, they would be looking at a Denver matchup with. I think they've said Jamal Murray is not coming back. And then MPJ, I haven't heard the update on him because he was.
I was gonna say, I think there was a chance at him. I think I'm not 100%,
but I think that's back to my argument of implementing him at this point in the year. I think, especially with the way he plays, like he's a gunner. So that would be an interesting matchup if the Warriors played without Steph for maybe a game or two, and Denver obviously got Michael Porter Jr. back. That could be an interesting series, to say the least.
I'm not gonna say Denver would beat them even without MPJ, but they're not getting swept or anything. I think they could take Golden State to 6, maybe 7.
Oh, absolutely. The Golden State team I've seen can get beat.
Yeah,
they've looked inconsistent at best. So,
but they will have home court advantage. So you got to give them a little bit because they will have home court advantage. So you know what I mean.
Whatever that new place is called ain't Oracle. I will say that.
True. That's true.
The hood to the suburbs and but speaking of home court advantage, so I'm going to frame this one way, and Chris, I'm not sure exactly how you wanted to go about it, but I did this last night, and I want to pose it to you guys as well and get your thoughts. But I'm going to start on the basis of New York has finally lifted their mandate. In a quote-unquote shock to many, but in what should have been done long ago, they made the decision that entertainers and athletes are now exempt from the vaccine mandate. That means that Kyrie Irving now will not be fined for going in the locker room. He doesn't have to sit off the bench. He can play in home games everywhere except, I believe, Toronto.
Yeah.
Which could also, I hadn't really considered that. But I guess that could become a problem? Toronto is the 7th seed. Yeah.
Definitely.
If they meet in the play-in, they would have to go to Toronto.
I was going to say they are currently scheduled to go to Toronto for the play-in game.
Yes, they are.
And they're 3 games back, so I don't think they're catching Toronto. So that presents an interesting dynamic. And if you fall out of that, then you got a home game against Atlanta. And I don't know if you necessarily want to running the tray. You're probably hoping Atlanta jumps because they're both Charlotte and Brooklyn both have 38 wins. Atlanta has 37. So you're probably hoping Atlanta gets to the 8th spot, and then you can stay at the 9 and you get Charlotte at home. I think would be what you would want if you're Brooklyn, but that is very interesting that actually Cleveland is tied with Toronto at 41 wins. So I think we'll see a lot of movement in the East. So, but that's something for us to track. Chris, I didn't pay that much attention to. You just said something. So interesting point. But react, everybody. Con man, the fact that Kyrie can now play home games in New York, what does that mean for the Nets?
Well, one thing you didn't bring up is that you stated that the mandate has been lifted. True that. But do you know why?
So I have a thought, and I didn't want to go there yet, but
I really was going to, but go ahead.
If you want to lead us there, you can definitely go down that road.
No, what basically happened was the mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams, was receiving a lot of pressure from the Yankees and the Mets. And that's the primary reason, because guess what's starting, in a week or 2 weeks? 3
Yeah.
The season's beginning. You know how much income they generate. You know, you got the Yes channel that contributes millions of dollars to the Yankees' bottom line, and you got New York with the Mets and the Yankees. They applied the pressure to Mayor Adams, and that's the real reason why he said, "Well, if I got to do it for them, I got to do it for everybody." So he opened it up for all, for all athletes, like you said. Now, how does it affect? I think, matter of fact, they had Kevin Durant talking about it as well. He says, well, now having Kyrie back for all the games up in Toronto, what it does is now you don't have to change your rotation. You don't have to change your game plan because either Kyrie's going to be there. So when Kyrie's not there, we got to go do this. When Kyrie's here, then we're going to play this way. But now they're going to get in a better rotation. I think they're going to get a little bit better continuity. I think it's going to be very important for them to get as much time together to get their stuff together, and hopefully the other guys come back. I think Curry should be coming back pretty soon as well, if I'm correct. I think Curry's coming back, so I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be crucial for them to play as much as they can, and again to get out of that thing so they ain't got to play Toronto in that playing game. If they can avoid playing Toronto in that playing game, I think the chances are going to be pretty good. And if you ever notice, and they were talking about that, I don't want to keep rambling on, but in most cases, when you go in the playoff setting and you have to play maybe a 7-game series, teams have a lot more time to plan for you. You can't really play. You can't plan for the Brooklyn Nets because you got Kyrie can take you whatever your game plan is, he's gonna take you. And KD, forget it, it's a wrap. So I mean, I don't know how teams are gonna adjust playing against Kyrie as well as KD as well. So I think it's gonna be beneficial, and I'm sure they're happy. I'm sure a lot of people in New York and Brooklyn, especially, are very happy that he's back and the mandate has been lifted.
No, I agree. I think my takeaway from this is it's a win. Sports are better when everyone gets a chance to play. But where I wanted to spend some time is on, you said the Yankees and Mets were pressuring Eric Adams.
Yeah. That
is true, but so were a lot of people. I think, or from what I can tell, the issue was and I think it's Steve Cohen, the owner of the Mets, gave over $1 million to Eric Adams' campaign last year.
Yes.
Many Mets are unvaccinated. It's rumored to believe that Aaron Judge, who's probably the most popular Yankee, is also unvaccinated. So could you imagine all those 81 home games, Aaron Judge would not be able to play? Do you understand baseball, who's already struggling with attendance, what that would do to their attendance if their best player can't play? So for me, I personally would want and expect an investigation to be done. You can't single out the Nets and Kyrie Irving all year and subject him to all the criticism that he came under and cost him all that money. And then turn around a week after saying you were not going to do it and change your mind. I believe that there is a paper trail, there are emails, a phone conversation, something was made that to me is, let's say, unprofessional at best. And he's only been in office since, I believe, a couple months now.
Yeah.
He got to go. Like, you can't do that. And then to say it's just for entertainers and athletes and exclude people like teachers and police and others, like, what message are you sending? What are you saying to the people that the entertainers and artists and sports athletes don't have to abide by a rule because they paid you off, but everyone else who didn't pay you off has to abide by it? Like, that's just unacceptable on every level. And to me, it speaks to a racism tone of basketball is a black sport and baseball is a white sport. Because Kyrie could have gave him $1.5 million. If that's all it took was $1.5 million, Kyrie could have saved $15 million and just paid the man off. But he didn't want it from Kyrie because Kyrie looks away. And I think the owners of the Mets and Yankees look away. So that's why we got this change.
Another thing too, fellas, what I wanted to bring out is the fact that, you made a point. You got everyday worker, you got the firefighters, you got the teachers, you got, so many people who are losing their jobs, losing income. You know what I mean? Whereas a lot of these athletes got big money. They got money. You know what I mean? They got millions and millions of dollars. What about people who are living paycheck to paycheck? You know what I mean? How much it affected them? And then how you think they feel saying, okay, well, he's going to block it. Then the next week changes his mind, lifts the mandate for athletes. I mean, if you're out there working, you got 8 kids or something to take care of, you ain't worried about that. You worried about who's going to pay your next bill. That's my theory.
Chris?
Yeah, like you just made an excellent point. This should have happened long before now. why wait until baseball season? And like we know that that's why you're doing it. You know, there's no other reason. You know,
the announcement was made at Citi Field.
Right.
Like, what a slap in the face.
Like, come on,
and
man.
like I understand, you know, of course Kyrie's gonna do it, but it's like at that point, man, it's almost just like why, you know? Because he has a legitimate chance to do something, you know, with it and everything. So I understand he's gonna get out there and play, but at that point in time, it's almost like you want to take a stand now and don't do anything because we could have did this back in November, man. Like you said, I could have given you the money.
And that the other piece to this is, and not to interrupt, Chris, Kyrie supported Eric Adams in his campaign.
Yeah,
like he was one of the issues people had was he was on a Zoom call when he was away from the team, helping him campaign.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
and
when
so
he took his sabbatical or whatever. Yeah,
and so now the response is, well, I'm going to, in essence, single you out because he was the only person that's really been negatively impacted in New York sports. And now, because some other people came and talked to you, now you change your mind a week before the season's supposed to start. Like, you got to go. Like, that's corruption at its finest.
And it's like you doing so many little things. Like, yeah, Curry can be here. He can sit. He can buy a ticket. Right. You know, but no, you don't get to interact with people. Nah, just sit there. You can have your mask off and everything, but no, you can't do this. But, you know, oh, yeah, I'm going to let the Yankees and the Mets players get together. They don't have to do anything.
And they find Brooklyn, didn't they find him 50,000 because Kyrie went in the locker room or something?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, how stupid.
That is, come on, man.
You can be in the locker room on away games, but let it be a home game, you can't go in the locker room. Like, if the goal of this thing was messaging, like, what message are you sending in any of this? One, your word means nothing because you've been resolute and not lifting the mandate and taking shots as recently as a week or two ago when a person in the crowd asked, let Kyrie play, and he said he can play if he gets vaccinated. That was like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And now magically overnight, you have this drastic change of heart. Like, that's just all bad.
Now, have they actually said, I'm pretty sure he hasn't actually said this is why, but it's just the optics of it, you know?
Yeah. Are you right?
Like you said, you did the announcement at the field. I didn't even know that part.
Yeah, the announcement was at Citi Field. So, I don't know. I think overall it's a win. I think it's a nasty way for us to get here.
Right.
I would like to see some things investigated as much as we still investigate in the last administration almost 2 years later. Like, throw a couple dollars at this. Y'all got the budget. And figure out what's going on. And, like, if I'm Chris Cuomo, who's suing for $100 million, y'all got me out of there. So I would expect somebody to pick this up. And it's unfortunate that it is an African-American man, but he tripping as far as I'm concerned.
And I don't think this is going to be over. Like, I'm pretty sure, you know, it's not a forefront issue right now, but after basketball season, somebody's going to definitely look into this.
The other issue that he has on his hands, and I know we've kind of gotten away from sports to a certain extent, is police unions are upset because they've been asking to have this mandate, and they're not excused. So I've already seen a couple of their unions, and we know what police unions mean in this country and in that state with that department. Like,
and that goes to what Common was just saying. I mean, yeah, the entertainers and athletes, you know, they're free to do it, but so what about the trash man, the city worker, and all that kind of stuff, you know?
So he definitely has an uphill battle, but hopefully we get some good basketball. Curry, like I said, coming back, but there's still that 6'10" point guard that has a herniated disc. So
from doing what? Like, Ben Simmons ain't touched the basketball since last year, and
I don't know. We haven't got much clarity on what did he injured in practice. Has it been injured? Like, we don't know. But
yeah, and like you would think, this is just like a question. If you know they do the physicals and everything before trades are made and all that, because who was it that had the life-saving thing because of the trade?
Karis LeVert.
Yes. So, do you think that they even did a physical on Ben Simmons before the trade? If they see this happen,
I think that's like you got to pass the physical, and that would just be the height of ignorance to not do it. But I think it's like stand like you have to do it as far as I'm concerned.
So
Now,
how do you not know about a herniated disc?
That's a good question.
That's
You know,
Like I know you want to get rid of Harden, but
yeah,
is it worth it?
right now, I mean, it sounds like from the reports that have come out since and the way that they've sparred, yes, I think even the fact if Simmons doesn't play, I think it was worth it. But I felt like you might make a different deal if you had known. And Iverson, thanks for that. Miami's been struggling. They let the Warriors get them without their top, and the Knicks just beat them without Julius Randle. And I don't think we have it. Do we have it in the? We don't have it in the topics, but
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, let's do it. We are on the fly here. Udonis Haslem decided to defend Eric Spoelstra's honor as Jimmy Butler was attacking Eric Spoelstra, so to speak, because I think there's just frustration. The team hasn't been playing well. They're in first place, but they haven't been clicking. There's been some back and forth, and it blew up. And there was an altercation on the sideline to the point that Udonis Haslem threatened to fight and beat down Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler did not seem super interested in that altercation based on the direction he was walking. And that we all believe Jimmy Butler to be a tough guy, but he did not seem to want to get within arm's reach of Mr. Haslem, even in his older age. So my question for you guys, and I'll start with you, Chris, on this one. Based on the loss tonight and what you're saying, is this a bigger deal than they made it out to be?
No, because it's Jimmy. Like, we know what Jimmy Butler does. This is what he does with all his teams. It's not a good look at all because you're sitting there threatening your coach to fight him. It's expected with Jimmy Butler. I personally don't have a lot of trust in Miami to go that deep into the East. I think they'll get first round, but the second round, they'll either lose to either Boston or Milwaukee, whoever they would meet. But it is not. It's just Jimmy's MO. I mean, you expect it with a Jimmy Butler-led team. I mean, UD, that's the only reason he's even there for situations like this. Has he touched for the past 3 years?
No.
Yeah, I mean, he's strictly there to be security, I guess.
Okay. So actually, and let me correct that. On March 18th, Udonis Haslem did play 2 minutes. He's averaging 5.9 minutes. So in 2020, he played 10 games. I'm sorry, in 2021, he played 10 games. 2020, he played 1 game. 2019, he played 4 games. 2018, he played 10 games. 2017, he played 14 games. In 2016, he played 16. So he's been stealing from the Miami Heat organization for quite some time on veteran minimum contracts because I think your point, he's supposed to be a voice of reason. He's a leader. He's a vet, which to me is why I disagree. I think this is a huge deal. I think when your stoic leader is going to the point that he's willing to fight and threaten to fight publicly, your best player, that's a problem. That to me is a line of respect. Disrespect has been crossed. Like, you can tell me I'm not playing well. You can tell me to play better. But telling me that I'm going to beat your butt and everything else publicly, and I believe it was a home game. Like,
yeah, well,
It was a home game.
That's aggressive, given the reason behind it. So for me, I think it's a bigger issue. I think it's a sign of the times. And I did not check the score of the game tonight, but this is another bad loss at a time you don't really want to be losing games when you could potentially have home court throughout. So I think Miami, to your point, was already in trouble because I don't think a lot of people believed in them. But I definitely think this is a cause for concern, and Eric Spoelstra has some work to do very quickly, or this could spin out of control. And God knows you don't want a first-round exit But the East is deep, and if they maintain that one spot or run into a Brooklyn or somebody like that in the first round, it could get ugly quickly. So, my take, comment, what you got?
Well, Jimmy Butler, if you guys look back on his career, he's had issues like this before. It seems like he can't really stay at one place for any considerable time. If you remember his best time when he was with the Chicago Bulls, he lasted with them a lot longer. And then if you remember, he went to go play with Minnesota, and he called out Cat, and he called out a few other players on the team that they were soft, if you guys remember that. So that caused an issue. So then he went to Philadelphia, and he had some problems with Philadelphia as well, and he wanted out of Philadelphia as well. So it seems like he doesn't really have a history of maintaining with a team. And now you got a team like Miami, who last year was talking about how happy he was playing with them and how much he enjoyed playing with the Heat. Well, by the way, the Knicks won 111-103 against the Heat. But I mean, to me, this issue that happened the other night, I watched it about 15 times. And it all came down to, I don't know if you guys know, it all came down to the way he played defense on a certain play. I guess he rotated the wrong way, or he didn't make the proper adjustments. And if you recall, a couple of times the opposing team came down, hit 2 or 3 shots, and that's when Poster went off. And then they had of course, they had the timeout. And then, of course, they had some verbal altercations, and he made some comments which he shouldn't have made, again, in public. And people had a phone, and they had it right there. You can tell exactly when it went on. And I think that, I tell you what, today looks like he had a pretty good game. He ended up with 37-7, so I don't know how much of an effect it had on him. But as far as the team's concerned, obviously, them losing to the Knicks without Randall, that's bad. That says a whole lot to me. So, but to answer your question, is it a big deal? I'm gonna say not as big as I thought at first. I think Pat Riley is gonna rally that team together. I think it can go either real good or real bad. I think they have enough talent on that team that they'll pull themselves together, and they're gonna be all right. That's my take. On the surface, coaches and players have gone at it over the years. You know what I mean? It happens. Shouldn't happen on national TV, but I mean, things like that do happen. More so in the locker room, or not outside in public game like that. So,
and I think that's what happened with it. It was not in the locker room. I think that's what I'm saying. It's probably not a big deal. I mean, we know Jimmy Butler. He's a butt. That's just what he's gonna do. He's gonna say the wrong thing at the wrong time. He's gonna try to be the big guy, like you said. What he did in Minnesota. Like this, we know about the Minnesota thing because people released it. This was, video footage. This probably happens in the locker room more than we know.
Agreed. But I think so. For me, I agree with you guys. And comment, you made a great point about Pat Riley being like the leader of that organization. I think that does make a difference. The concerning part for me, as I kind of went back and looked at the box score as well, is yes, Jimmy was 37-7, but they were up 15 going into the fourth and gave up almost 40 points in the fourth to a Knicks team without Julius Randle. Like, I did not watch the game, so I can't speak to exactly how it went, but that's unacceptable. Evan Fournier was 2 of 10 from 3. RJ Barrett was 2 of 10 from 3. And you lost at home to the Knicks. That's not a good sign. You talk about I think we've talked about Boston and how they're trending right now, and I kind of alluded to, I believe it was on the mic, what I said about Phoenix and how they're playing right now. How you play leading into the playoffs goes a long way, I believe. So These are bad losses. That Warriors loss to a team without Steph, Clay, or Draymond is a bad loss. And so you follow that up with a loss to the Knicks without Randall. Without Randall, and their 2 best prior players had poor shooting nights, and you blew a 15-point lead and almost got beat by double digits. Like, that's just to me, there's definitely trouble there. But we'll see if they can rally the troops. I do agree Pat Riley can be that force, and an organization that probably wishes they had Pat Riley is definitely the New Orleans Pelicans, who don't seem to have any idea of what the heck they're doing.
Before we switch topics real quick, what do you do with Jimmy Butler at this point, though?
You got to keep him. I think he's on a max deal. I don't know how many.
Sure is, yeah.
But can you flip him for Damian Lillard?
And do what with Kyle Lowry?
Yeah, can't do that either. Can you flip him for? I wouldn't. And you got CJ in New Orleans, so you can't flip him for Zion. I wouldn't. Yeah, you can't flip him for us because you got Lowry again. I don't know. I don't know what you do. I think you kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, I think it's great to see what happens. Hey, one thing, like you said, it is concerning is the fact that they've lost 3 games in a row. That's really could be a major problem. The fact is they lost 3 games in a row. It was how many games remaining? Like 9, 10 games remaining?
Something like that.
So
and he's due $37.6 million next year.
That's going. I think he's going to stay. I mean, that's a high price. That's a high price. I think he's going to stay. You know, how many times has Charles Barkley gone off when he played? I can go on and on and on. Right. So I mean, I think they'll squash it, and they're going to be fine. I think so.
Do they have expectations really though? I mean, like we know the year they overachieved in the bubble, but like what do you think they go into saying? You know, like championship or bust or
100%. I think especially when they got Oladipo back and Tyler Hero was playing at arguably almost an all-star level.
Yeah,
bringing Kyle Lowry, like I think you bring those people in because the goal is to win. Like they are the 1 seed in the East for what it's worth.
True.
So anything other than the championship is a failure to me, especially when you got the veteran savvy. You've been there before. Like I 100% think that's the goal.
I agree. I think that they came out guns are blazing. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden, it's a long season, but like you said, I think the better that you finish, the better it leads up into your playoff, the playoff caliber as well. So I don't think they want to, continue to where they're going right before the playoffs. You know what I mean? So they want, you want to be playing at your best during playoff time. So like the Celtics. Hey, I'm from the Boston area, so I'm not a Celtics fan. But anyway, so I'm not. But they're on the road right now. You know what I mean? 9-1 the last 10 games. They're on the road.
They're on the road.
I see them in Milwaukee. I see them in Milwaukee in the conference finals. Boston.
Ooh.
No. We can talk about that at a later time.
Okay.
I don't see that at all. But to Damian's point, I don't see Chicago wanting him back. Like him and DeRozan are like the same guy. So I don't see how that works. And LaVine, I think they already having issues getting shots, and they got a bunch of young talent there. I don't trade LaVine for him, and I don't trade DeRozan for him. So I don't know that fits. And that Brooklyn game tomorrow, I think, could be huge. Brooklyn needs a win. They've put up some great highlights, but they need to put some wins together. And Miami obviously needs to fix this problem and get back on the right track. So that's a big game tomorrow, obviously.
Especially because that could be a potential first round matchup.
It definitely could. Definitely could. So some good stuff. Anything else on this before we shift on over to the great old Pelicans?
Really just talk about like how the East has been this year.
Great.
Because like Miami's first right now. Chicago started off first. I think didn't Brooklyn have it for a moment? Milwaukee's been up there. It's just been so crazy in the East this year.
And it to be honest, it still is. When I looked at it earlier, the Celtics are 1 game back of first place at the 4 spot.
I'm about to say, yeah, it's crazy.
Like, and by the same token, the Bulls at the 5 spot are like 4 games from the Bulls are really 2 games from being in the play-in. So the difference between 1 and 10 is 10 games. Like that's so very, very tight. I foresee a lot of movement. Boston is trending in the right direction, 9-1. The Bucks are 8-2 in their last 10. The Bulls are 3-7 in their last 10, so they're probably the worst of the group. Everybody else in the top 10 has a winning record in their last 10 games, besides the Heat that are 5-5. So we got a heck of a run coming for the Eastern Conference. And you still got teams that Detroit, Indiana, Washington, and the Knicks will show up on a given night and can give people some trouble. So he said trade Kobe White for Butler. Well, one, the contracts don't match up. Let's just
saying stuff now.
Yeah, I'll leave that comment for them. But yeah, that's not gonna happen. It just doesn't work. Not without a ton of draft picks. So
but fellas, let me ask you all a question.
Yeah.
You talked about how great the East is. What team do you think surprised you the most thus far in the East?
Cleveland.
And why do you think that?
I did predict that they would be a play-in team.
Okay.
Me and Mike Hughes said that early in the year that they could be a play-in team. But, just what they did early on, because I think, didn't they? How high did they get?
They got real high right before the All-Star break. They
was up to like 2 or 3 at one point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I know they got like that high. So just being able to get to that point, I mean, Sexton's kind of surprised me. Garland, like those boys really they're young and talented. And Kevin Love, he's not Minnesota Kevin Love, but minus LeBron dunking on him and everything, he went back a little bit. He went back a few years.
Chris, you didn't have to go there, man.
I had to break it up,
man. I would say for me the biggest surprise has been Philly.
Really? Okay.
I don't think Joel Embiid has gotten, and I know he's in the MVP conversation.
He'll win it.
I don't think he might. I think he may have a Joker problem, even though Joker won it last year. But I don't think people give him enough credit for what he's done with that team. Like, he was without Ben Simmons all year, but dealing with that Ben Simmons situation. He's had to, in my opinion, I've been very consistent on this, overcome Doc Rivers and deal with integrating James Harden and his temperamental party lifestyle. And they're 1 game back of first place. Like, he's been consistent most night in and night out. He's played a bunch of games. He hasn't missed stretches. He's been relatively healthy.
Yeah.
I did not think they would be this good, especially when we saw what the Bulls were doing early, what Cleveland was doing early, what we know Milwaukee is, Brooklyn and what they were doing early. I did not think we'd be sitting here today with them as the 3 seed in a game out of first place. And they've done that. So that to me has been the biggest surprise. My issue with Cleveland is Jared Allen's down. And I think that's had a huge impact. And they're just not the same team. I will say if I had to pick for most improved, I think Darius Garland has to be up there for most improved player of the year. Like, he's been phenomenal this year. And I think they have a problem. We keep the theme of the show has been integrating players.
Yeah.
They got to do something with Colin Sexton now. Like, he was already iffy on what their future was. He's not a starter anymore. So I think you got to maximize his talent in the trade market once he becomes available. But obviously I agree. We alluded to. I just don't trust Boston. I don't trust Boston in the playoffs. I don't. And Jason Tatum, I'm good with. My issues: Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown. Those are my concerns when it gets to postseason games and they're tight down the stretch. But I definitely agree that team has come alive at the right time, and they have definitely been a surprise.
you know, I respect both y'all opinions on that one. I'm gonna go with Toronto, and I'm gonna tell you what. Hear me out.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna name their roster real quick. Imoni Brooks. I don't know who that is. Anunoby, whatever his name. Scotty Barnes, great player. Precious Achua, Justin Champagne, David Johnson, Svai Mahalik, Isaac Bonga, Judah Wananabe, Thaddeus Young, Malaki Flynn, Fred Van Fleet, and Clem Burke. What kind of team is that? I'm just, I'm looking at their roster and I'm looking at how well they've been playing lately. You know what I mean? And when they started at the beginning of the season, fellas, like, no, you can check it out. They were miserable. They were terrible. But look at them now and what they've done with that team. Yeah, I'm just thinking that is, to me, is amazing. I mean, look at right now, they're going to be the 7th seed out of the East. Yeah. What do y'all think about that?
No, I think my frustration with Toronto has been they get on rolls and they beat really good teams, and then they just put up some crazy performances. But no, I think that's valid. And they were the one team that most of this year they were playing without fans at home. And
yes.
So I watched a couple of their games, and it's just like no home fans at all.
And their last 10 games, they're 7-3. So I mean, I'm telling you, they're really shocking me. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and just as an aside, I know I said Brooklyn probably wants to get Charlotte earlier, but Charlotte just beat Utah tonight. Now, I don't have a lot of faith in Utah either. They've been sliding, but on any given night, the East can beat anybody on any given night. So for sure. And since we got a few more minutes, I will allow Chris the opportunity to talk about.
Oh no, man! Let's do the Pelicans topic. Man.
Because I'm willing to do Phoenix topic.
No, man, let's do the Pelicans topic, man. We got plenty of time to talk about Phoenix because we'll be doing this during the playoffs and we'll be in the finals and after the finals. We know Devin Armani Booker should be in the MVP conversation, but we'll do it for finals MVP conversation.
Okay.
Whoa. So you're saying Devin Booker should be in the MVP discussion, which means somebody else shouldn't be at all. And
you know what? In all honesty, I think that's what hurts them. It's the same thing as like what Steph and KD went through.
It's not, though.
What?
It's not.
It is. Like, you would never say KD was going to be the MVP because he had Steph. I mean, it's the same thing with them because you can't say, like, Devin Booker is arguably the better player.
Arguably?
Okay, he's the better player.
Okay, thanks.
But is he the most valuable on that team? Because you can look at the impact Chris has.
We just saw the impact that Chris had. He was gone. And Devin Booker's points and assists went up, and they are now, I think, 9 games up in first place.
Yeah.
They're 9 games clear of the second best team in the entire NBA. Like, that's absurd.
Okay. And that you don't think Chris Paul has an impact on that?
Not on the recent run. No. He wasn't there.
He was coaching.
Oh. Chris Paul won coach of the year. Okay. But no, let's get to the Pelicans because you're right. I stand corrected. We do have plenty of time to talk about Phoenix because I said it before and I'll say it again. I think they will be around for the long haul. I think last year was a great learning experience for a lot of their young talent. They took care of a lot of their young talent and got them paid. So I think people are happy outside of Ayton, who finally has started to come into his own. I will be curious to see how he's impacted by Chris Paul coming back because I think they were playing faster with campaign, and that was getting him the ball maybe earlier in the shot clock, which was benefiting him. But overall, I think they look good. Comment, you got something?
Well, the thing with Phoenix is that I think the maturation of Ayton. If you ever noticed, I'm sure Chris knows. He's hitting that perimeter jump shot now. He's hitting that foul line jump shot now. He's playing more aggressively on defense. I think his improvement and him going through that learning experience going against Giannis in the finals last year, I think that it's definitely going to help him to be prepared for this coming playoffs. So yeah, they're going to be dangerous. Phoenix is going to be dangerous.
For sure. And like I said, we'll get to it quick, kind of a rapid fire here. I'll kind of preface it and let y'all go with it. So the New Orleans Pelicans have been playing relatively well. They got some games coming up against the Los Angeles Lakers that will help really put them in a better position in the play-in tournament. I think most people believe if they have Ingram back healthy, they can win that game and get, into the playoff scenario. My question is, if you have a trio of Zion, a rested, healthy Zion, Brandon Ingram, and Stephen Cullum, how dangerous is New Orleans? And given that, why aren't they bringing him back based on the video we saw him have? And I'll start with you, Colin.
That's a tough one. So you're talking about different variables. The fact that if a healthy Zion, that would be a formidable front court, and they would obviously be a much better team than what they are right now. And the fact is that, Zion, he has to lose a lot of weight. There's no ifs, ands, word about it. They showed that highlight of him dunking. He was trying to send a message that he wants to play. I don't think they're going to let him play. I don't think they think he's ready to play. They want to set him up for next year. And but to answer your question, if he was healthy, they would be a very tough team to beat. I honestly believe they'd be very tough. And but he don't want to be there anyway. He doesn't want to. He wants to play with the Knicks. He wants to be in New York or whatever. So I don't know what kind of moves that's going to be. But seeing that video, I mean, there was nobody playing defense. He was about to get his shirt off. I mean, that to me, that wasn't impressive at all. What did that do? For real, what did it do? Did it impress you? Because he dunked with his shirt off? Why do you think he had his shirt off when he took the video? Think about it. There's a reason.
Trying to show he's in shape.
But just quickly, I do want to kind of run through this here roster, and not the roster, but really the schedule, because to your point, and actually I'll ask this follow-up. That video, do you think that video was put out by Zion, or do you think that video was put out by the Pelicans comment?
Definitely by Zion.
And if you say he doesn't want to be there, what's the value in putting that out? If you're saying he doesn't want to be there and play,
I know where you're going with this. I think I know where you're going with this because there's a reason. Someone is up for a contract extension, for a max contract. Mm-hmm. And if the Pelicans don't think he's healthy enough, they're not going to pay him that extension. And as you know, money's the bottom line. Now he's going to be trying to get a max contract. Now, if he shows that he's not healthy, they're not going to want to pay him that kind of money. But if he shows that he's healthy, he's in shape, guess what? They're going to have to pay him.
And I agree with you. So, Chris, my question for you is, the Pelicans are currently 4.5 back of the Clippers for the 8th seed. With a healthy Zion and that three of Ingram and McCollum, I'm going to also read you off the Pelicans' remaining schedule. They got the Spurs, the Lakers, the Blazers, the Lakers, the Clippers, the Kings, the Blazers, and they finish with the Grizzlies and Warriors, who probably will have their spots locked up. I believe they could definitely go on the run.
Yeah.
And right now the Clippers are down 20 to the Sixers. If you can get to that 8 seed and you can get Minnesota or maybe Denver, why wouldn't you bring Zion back if your goal is to try and win? Because I see a very feasible option of them going on a run based on those teams they have left.
Win what? I mean, like you bring Zion back to do what? Get into the playoffs and get eliminated in the first round. What's the point?
What happens if you run into a jawless Memphis team in the first round?
You'd have to be 7 seed to do that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. If they go,
you're still not. Well, what's BI status?
I think he's almost back from what
I mean, I know we're doing a hypothetical of Zion not, being able to play, but I know realistically what we can do with BI. But
he's questionable for tomorrow's game.
Okay, well, yeah, he'll probably be there for the playoffs then.
But Ray, you know something? This goes against what you said at the beginning of the show, that you had concerns about how people who have been hurt try to come back on the team and try to fit in. Now, this guy hasn't played all year long.
His fat hasn't been in nowhere.
Come back right now, where you got to learn to play with new players, different system, and to go put him in right now, I don't think that would be feasible right now.
But let me explain why Zion.
Okay.
He set you up, Carmen.
I was ready.
I know he is.
Zion doesn't play with the ball in it. Zion doesn't dictate offense. A bunch of Zion's offense is hustle. Offensive boards. They're not throwing the ball into Zion in the post. They're not running offense through Zion. So I think someone like Zion fit pretty seamlessly because all you're doing is taking out, and I don't have the roster in front of me, you're taking out some guy. Ingram and McCollum are still going to have the ball the majority of the time. Whereas with Chris Paul, when it's someone like Klay Thompson that's a volume shooter, or Chris Paul who has the ball in his hand a lot, or Kyrie who has the ball in his hand a lot, Ben Simmons who potentially is the point guard that could have the ball in his hands a lot. If you sub out Jackson Hayes from getting 30 minutes and giving you 6 points and 5 rebounds for Zion, that's a whole different conversation. But I think he integrates a lot easier just because he doesn't require the ball in his hand to be effective.
You set me up. Yeah, that was a good comeback. But okay, now do you think they're going to do that?
They, for some reason, that's what I don't understand. Is I think the Pelicans have a runway. Like I said, with Zion, CJ, the way he played, Brandon Ingram, I think that's a formidable 3.
But he shut down.
But they've shut him down. And so that's where I really the point of this question is, why would Zion put out the video after they announced they were shutting him down? Because the video says, I can play. I was going against Corey Brewer one-on-one. I was dunking all over him. I was moving him out the way. I'm throwing the ball off the glass, doing between the legs dunks. But y'all are saying I can't play. So to me, there's a collision that something's not aligned, and I don't understand why New Orleans wouldn't play him, because I think there's an opportunity to potentially do something.
But it's no secret, like Conman said, he's not happy in New Orleans. And I mean, this is the same.
Why put the video out?
Say what now?
But then why put the video out? Because that's just going to piss off the organization who just said shutting you down.
Right, but at the same time, it's showing other teams, look what I can do. Somebody just said in the comments, you don't play him because you don't want to increase his trade value, which I get because, I mean, me personally, I'm just looking at like he's fat. I don't want him. But, you see these videos, okay, maybe he can do something besides be fat.
I think maybe his agent put that video out.
Yeah, it was definitely on his team.
I would say I think we're all in agreement. Zion put it out. I just don't know that we're watching in a completely different sport. But what happens when you piss off the organization? Baker Mayfield finds himself in a very untenable situation.
Yeah.
So if you're Zion,
but
you
basketball,
people know you want out. Like that's going to make it harder for them to trade you. And David Griffin, by all stances, has been very stubborn.
But does it though? I mean, we saw AD do it in New Orleans. Look at James Harden the past few teams. I mean, basketball, you kind of get a little bit more leeway.
Those were established all-stars, and AD was a LeBron issue. I don't think that AD deal happens if LeBron's not in LA. Now, Harden, he's an MVP, he put up numbers, he was in his prime. I think it's a little different where Zion doesn't have enough accolades and he has injury history that I think will be working against him. So if I'm the Knicks, maybe I would have sent you RJ, Quigley, and Randall and a couple draft picks. Now you'll be lucky to get Randall, Fournier in a second in 2026.
All right, so do you pay Zion his max if y'all New Orleans?
Hell no.
No. I move him.
Okay.
But now I'm stuck because you put this video out, people know you're not happy. So now the offers we're going to get are minimum. So now it's a game of chicken of, do I hold you and you potentially walk away for nothing? Do I make a trade deadline deal with the value I might get back is a diminished return? Like,
you got to get something for him.
Yeah, I would agree. But what that something looks like in the long term could look really bad if he can figure out how to stay healthy.
Lose weight. That's a starting point right there. Like,
that's a huge starting point.
Yeah.
But if he gets a whole bunch of money, because whoever he goes to, he'll have to give him a max.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you trade him, assign and trade, and you give him the max, what incentive does he have to lose weight?
Hopefully for his future health.
This is true.
I mean, if Greg Oden could have got that second big deal, I think people might look at Greg Oden differently. Brandon Roy at least got a big deal before he got out of there.
Right.
And the money today, that first Supermax is going to be probably $100 million, and he got his Zion shoe.
They look pretty decent actually too.
I didn't like the new one. I like the first ones. I didn't like the second ones as much. But I don't envy the Pelicans. And if I'm a team, I'm very hesitant to bring him in because there's already been concerns about his motivation. So I'm going to give you $100 million.
Okay. Good point. Very good point.
That's just, yeah. So we'll see. But you guys have anything else before we go ahead and wrap it up here? No?
I'm good,
man. Like, I know we got some Suns topics coming up here over the next few months. I'm good.
For your sake, hopefully they're positive. Because if Chris Paul and his Suns do not get to the finals, you ain't going to want to be on this show. I didn't came out in support of them. I have bought in. If Chris Paul lets me down, bruh.
You'll see closeout Chris coming.
Okay.
Close out Chris. I like that.
I've never seen that guy, but I'll take the word that he exists.
All right, man. Y'all have a good night. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good one. Definitely continue to watch what ASAP is on. A lot of great shows coming this weekend. Definitely tune in next Friday at 10 Eastern for more Fast Break. I'm sure we'll have a bunch of new basketball topics. For those of you who are watching, enjoy. Another St. Peter's won tonight. I know we're an NBA show mostly, but huge shout out to New Jersey and St. Peter's College on the upset tonight. And hopefully the college basketball tournament continues to produce great things. Coach K, UNC's playing tonight. They potentially could end up meeting up in the Final Four, which I think would be just absolutely amazing. So yeah, we'll talk about all things NBA next week. Thank you again and have a great night.
Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the diamond.